All right, welcome back to the part two review. This isn't going to be as long as the last one. I got kind of carried away, and I covered a lot in that video. So if you haven't watched that, please go back and watch it. It's kind of long, but it's definitely worth it. We review all the major topics, except for these last two that I want to cover. I want to talk about loops, and I want to talk about methods. So let's talk about methods first, because it's kind of it's now let's talk about loops. Let's build a loop in here. So first, I'm going to write some instructions to the screen, and I'm going to say something like, "Who is your favorite teacher?" Right? And down here, I'm going to give them the opportunity to type in what they're looking for, right? So I'm gonna show them where I want them to type it, and it's not gonna be a right line, it's gonna be a right. Oh, teacher, if I can spell today. And I want a variable to hold that, just like we did last video. I'm gonna call that teacher. And then here I'm gonna type teacher equals console.readLine. Okay, so now I have a teacher stored in that teacher variable. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to create a loop. I want to create a while loop, which will continuously run until a certain condition is met. While teacher does not equal, right? Does not equal. That exclamation point before that means does not. While teacher does not equal Mr. Storm, then we're going to run a bunch of code, meaning every time they type this, if it's not Mr. Storm, we're going to run this code. First, we're going to console.clear the screen, and then we're going to say, we're going to give them another opportunity to enter in their teacher name. Seriously? Tell the truth. Who is it? Okay. We're going to give them the opportunity to type in what they're looking, or who their favorite teacher is, right? Now, the great thing about while loops is you can hold your people there, you can hold your user there as long as you want. I could type a million different things and it'll just keep coming back to, seriously, tell the truth, who is it? Until you type Mr. Storm, right? So I'm going to, after we type Mr. Storm, I want to say console.writeLine. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Okay. Console.readLine so that it pauses for us. All right. I'm going to go ahead and try this out and make sure the loop works the way it's supposed to. All right, who's your favorite teacher? Mr. Van is my favorite teacher. Seriously, tell the truth, who is it? Okay, Mr. Vaughter is my favorite teacher. Seriously, who is it? It's Major Wright. No, seriously, who is it? Okay, it's Mr. Storm. Oh, you're so sweet, thank you. See? So that's how a loop works. Now, it's important to remember with loops, you want to give it some possibility of changing the variable you're looking for. Because if I never had that, if I never had any way to change it, it would continuously loop forever. There'd be no way to break out of that loop. That's called an infinite loop, and it's a problem. You definitely don't want an infinite loop. Because if you have an infinite loop, let's go ahead and take this out of there. If you have an infinite loop, then your program's just going to run forever, and it's never going to stop. Now notice over here, my memory, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and at some point, it's going to run out of it's going to run out of memory, and it's going to crash my computer. So I'm going to close the program before it does that. You always want to have a way to break out of the loop. Okay. All right, so that's loops. Let's say instead of doing all of this in the main method though, let's say I just wanted to break it out. Let's say I wanted to access things every once in a while. Let's do it this way. What if I had a piece of code that I wanted to continuously access over and over again? I would want to create a method. So far we've been doing everything inside the main method, and the main method is going to begin running as soon as the console, as soon as the application opens. But outside of the main method, this is all the main method in between these two brackets here. Outside of the main method, we can create new methods of our own. We can create any kind of methods that we want to handle anything that we want to do. So let's make a method, and we'll call it our title. Let's make a method for title. All right. So let's see. Let's think about it. I want a title method, and I want a teacher method, and we can put everything inside the teacher method. All right, cool. All right, so to create a method, first of all, there are two different kinds of methods, right? There is the main method and an instance method. The instance method is what we're going to create. The main method is what we've already been using. Instance methods are methods that we can call, and it will run that application, or it'll run that stuff until we come back to it. So I want to create a public method. Public means that it can be accessed by other classes and other applications that are linked to this. I want to create a static method, meaning that it doesn't accept input from other methods. I'm going to create a, let's call it title. Oh, and I don't want the brackets, right? Or I don't want a semicolon at the end, just like right up here, anytime you have these brackets following your statement, it means your statement's not done. Okay, now inside this public static void title method, I want to create console.writeLine hello, welcome to my application. Okay. Now this looks pretty simplistic, but this will allow us to call this title method anytime we want. Now at the end of the title method, we're just going to put a read line, and we're just going to leave it alone. Up here, the first thing we're going to do before we start running the rest of the program is I want to call my title method. So I'm just going to put title. And what that's going to do is it's going to run my main method. It's going to go to the first instruction on the main method, which is calling the title method. It's going to look in my program to try to find the title method, and it's going to say, okay, we'll run this, we'll do that, we'll do that. When this is done, when everything in the title method is finished, we'll go all the way back up and we'll continue on with the rest of the program. Okay? Now, it may seem confusing at first, but don't get super confused. Let's create another method just to clean this up a little bit. Public static void, and we're going to call this fav teacher. We're going to create a favorite teacher method, and inside of this method we're actually going to take all of this code here, and we're going to put it inside that method, and we're going to delete all of it here. And what we want to do is we just want to call fav teacher from our main method. So our main method exists just to call other methods that are going to handle the rest of our program. So first it's going to call the title method. It's going to run everything inside of the title method. And then when the title method's done, it's going to go to fav teacher, and it's going to run everything inside the favorite teacher method. Now at this point you can see that we have a lot of these brackets. It's really important that you make sure that everything is organized properly. right? Because if you start getting confused, if brackets start getting dropped, that's whenever it starts getting really hard to troubleshoot your program and to debug your program. If something's going wrong with your program, it's going to be hard to find it if everything's out of order. So here are some common things that I've seen. First of all, let's say we don't have a semicolon there. Usually it'll say, hey, there's a semicolon expected. Let's say here we didn't close off the parentheses. It'll say, hey, there's a parentheses that needs to be there. If you see the red squiggly lines, that means that you don't have, you're missing something. There's some problem somewhere. Let's see, what's another problem we can have? Oh, let's say this method, let's say I didn't call it favTeacher, I called it teacher. Up here, we're trying to call a method now that doesn't exist, and so it's going to freak out, right? And this will be the same as if we didn't write the method at all. So we want to make sure that everything matches, everything is spelled correctly. All right, let's go ahead and run this program. I'm going to control save, and let's see what happens. Okay, so as we can see, the first thing that happened is it ran the main method and it looked for title, right? It ran my title method. So if we scroll down to title, the first thing in title is, hello, welcome to my application, and then it waits. That's exactly what we want. So I'm going to hit enter, and guess what? It ran my favorite teacher method right here, string teacher, console write. Who is your favorite teacher? Let's see, Mr. Cap. Seriously, tell the truth. Who is it? Mrs. Mrs. I'm drawing blanks on people. Mrs. McNeely. I don't know if that's how you spell her name. Anyway, but you see what I mean? So my application works properly, even though I've taken most things out of the main function. Or the main method. I'm just calling methods inside the main method, and that helps me to kind of compartmentalize my program a little bit. That helps me to break things up. And now if I wanted to, let's say, call the title method again after the favorite teacher. Oh, my code's still running. I gotta shut down my application. If I wanted to call my title method again, I could, and I wouldn't have to type all that code all over again, right? I could just call the title method again without having to type that code. That's why methods are extremely, extremely important. All right, let's think. Is there anything else that we covered last term that I haven't covered in these review videos? Methods, switches, loops, arrays. We haven't covered an array yet. Okay. Arrays are pretty easy, actually. They're kind of they're just like a variable. Let's create a string array. Actually, you know what? Arrays we're going to cover in the second term anyway, so don't worry about that. And if you really want to know what an array is and you want to go back, there is, where is it? I think in the rock, paper, scissors assignment, there's a slideshow that shows you how to build an array, and the video there will do it. But I'm gonna cut this short. I'm not gonna spend too much more time belaboring extra points. I just wanted to give you guys another quick rundown of some of the things we covered. Now at this point, we can move on to term 2, and we're going to start learning how to build applications with a GUI, which is going to be super fun, and I'm excited. I look forward to doing that with you. Thanks for paying attention, and I will see you next time.